Hi, guys, and good morning, and welcome to another reading. So, today's reading is going to be a little bit of a special one since my channel is a little bit about Saturn. Um, I like Saturn. I would probably say I'm one of the few people that I do like Saturn. I have a few planets in Capricorn, actually, three. I also have Saturn in Scorpio, Pluto in Scorpio, and my rising is Aquarius. So, I do have like a lot of Saturn influence in my chart, and as I go back in my life, I have seen how Saturn kind of shaped me in a way, which I like. I feel like I've learned a lot of lessons and I'm continuing learning. So it's a never-ending story with them. But I feel like now um, I'm able to handle situations a whole lot better. It definitely, it made my life more disciplined, more strict as well, following the rules, not skipping corners. But anyway, enough about me. I wanted to tell you a little bit about right now Saturn going retrograde in the sign of Aries. And it's going to be going retrograde. I think it started yesterday, July 26th, and it's going to be retrograde until of December 10th of this year. So, and when it goes retrograde, I feel mostly it's about kind of doing some sort of review, especially an internal review about what your life has been so far. I know entered the sign of Aries. I think it was around March. Um, and this is the major themes that I have to read from notes about Saturn in retrograde in Aries is mostly about, well, Saturn represents structure, responsibility, discipline, boundaries, and long term commitments. But in the sign of Aries, it's mostly about initiative, independence, courage, and impulsiveness. So, definitely, a lot of people will be kind of tested on those areas in some way. And, one of the things that Saturn is going to ask you to do is kind of like slow down your impulsiveness. Um, to be more patient, to have more intention in what to do, more awareness. It's about reviewing commitments and responsibilities as well. Anything rushed or poorly structured, is going to need correction. Building boundaries, you may consider where you've been too rigid or maybe too soft. Internal restructuring, Saturn retrograde is about refining what already exists rather than starting new adventures. Leadership and ambition check. You're asked to examine whether your goals come from authentic conviction or impatient. It depending where your Aries is in your chart, and that could be some of the things related to that house, right? It's going in retrograde. Like, for example, Saturn's going retrograde in my third house. So yeah, I feel like right now it's about communications and um, learning how to. Because I have an Aries moon as well, so I feel like Saturn, affecting my moon helps me ground myself in some way and be more aware of before I speak. Because sometimes I tend to also judge a little bit too fast in some way because I jump into conclusions. But I've learned some of my lessons. So let's get started. Let's see. I'm kind of curious, and it's gonna be fun. Let's make it fun in a way to see if we can channel messages about this Saturn retrograde, and let's see what might you guys be expecting. Believe me that once you do the work, by the end, because Saturn do reward you, it does reward you. So for some of you, I do I do sense that also Saturn being retrograde, like I said, it depends on, where it's going to go retrograde in your chart. It's about taking back your power in some way, having the courage to get out of your comfort zone. Try, yeah, it's about like, internal restructuring. Like I said before here in my notes, it says Saturn is going. It's about redefining what you already exists rather than starting something new. Or maybe like if it already exists, maybe try something. Try to make it like, for example, I've this is not new to me. The social media channel, the YouTube, the content. I've had other channels before, but I just started to. I just came back again, and since I already have some sort of knowledge, I just wanted to give it another try, things like that. So, all right, let's see messages about this Saturn retrograde for you guys. Okay, for some of you, I do sense that Saturn is also going to test you about where you have kind of been self-sabotaging, not only yourself, but other people, other connections, relationships, partnerships as well. It does have a lot of seventh house energy. This could also be, the other way where you also have allowed other people to kind of influence you. Like I said, there's a message here about taking your power back. We have the Emperor upright, which is Aries energy. It's about, taking what's yours again, whatever way possible, but obviously, being very strategic about it in some way, right? Let's see. For some of you, I do get that in this Saturn retrograde, you might be going back to projects, some sort of unfinished business as well, and maybe the areas of work. Would that be your sixth house? Something that you have left pending. Maybe you didn't see the opportunities before, but you might be starting to see opportunities now if you go back to this, project or thing that you kind of left behind. For example, I what came back to my YouTube, doing a YouTube. Maybe for some of you, this is about giving this thing that you kind of left behind in the past another chance, right? There's some sort of like ego type of energies as well, with Jupiter also entering Leo. I know it's going to be making some aspects in the future, but right now it's about kind of being able to see situations, people, or even things in yourself, where you might be kind of like being aware of, certain things or certain patterns in your life when it comes to your ego, when it comes to, an infatuated ego type of thing. I do see that as the Six of Wands in some way, about some, people who have an infatuated ego. And I'm sorry I'm being a little bit too blunt, but that's kind of like how I do my readings. I just say it how it is. So, Saturn's going to ask you to kind of keep your ego in check and kind of, seeing what that looks like. I mean, having an ego, it's not a bad thing as long as you know what it looks like and how you're able to use it in some way. I do see some potential some sort of relationship issues maybe in the first couple of months of Saturn being retrograde. I know that we just had a Mercury, but I feel like there is people coming back in some way for you to kind of do some sort of unfinished business. There is also some sort of situations when it comes to other people, partnerships, connections, right? That um, you might, because the lovers, it's also about choices. So where you might have to choose either those relationships or yourself, or between two people or two paths, when it comes to, could also be maybe even work partnerships. um yeah, we have the Two of Cups in the reverse, so there's definitely some sort of unbalance happening here. Um, Also, Saturn wants you to know where in your life you need to, bring more stability with the Four of Wands upright. Um, for some of you, I feel like Saturn is going to ask you in this retrograde to kind of work on some sort of structure, and, just start building it up. Um, I also see that there could be some sort of support that you might be having with Saturn retrograde, because for some it's not really a bad thing, um, which is going to give you an opportunity to actually build something or start something or do something or even support something here for the long run. But again, if you don't do the work, if you don't, take those opportunities, then it might not happen, or it might be like until another opportunity may come, which is not going to be in the same way. So there might be opportunities here. There is definitely a very big energies in regards to egos, and I've been seeing that. I just did a full moon in Aquarius reading, and I kind of saw some of those same energies. There might be also issues with authorities, maybe older people as well, people who have gained, the experience, the wisdom. They might be coming in, to some of you to kind of, I would say, it kind of give you like a lesson in some way. So depending on who you are, or like I said, there's like ego here. It might make you feel uncomfortable, but at the same time, it will help you and support you to see a situation even clearer. Maybe this is something someone like older, let's say, notice about you, some sort of behavior. Let's say someone older comes in and kind of sees something in you that they've done before, and they kind of want to help you and teach you, but the way they kind of do that, it's kind of like really going straight to it. Like, it might feel like judgment at first, but once you look at it, deeper, I feel like this is where the person is going to be, you're going to say, okay, this is like some sort of tough love, tough, like where they're being tough on you, but it's not the way it seems. Like maybe you might feel like they might be attacking, but it's not. They're trying to kind of see the truth in you about some sort of sabotage that you might be doing, not only to yourself but to other people. Um, and for some of you, it could be related to relationships. Maybe someone who might be giving you advice when it comes to your relationships or partnerships, or even the way they handle money. I feel like there will be people coming into your life who are more wise, who will kind of give you a helping hand and some sort of guidance. How will that look like? Well, you're not going to really appreciate it at the beginning, but then things is going to start making sense in some way, So I feel like this is about also for some of you. Um, like I said, there's something that, okay. So one of the things I seen about Saturn is it will break down what is not good anymore, right? So there's a part of you. So basically, Saturn kind of brings down something in you that you're gonna keep hitting a wall. If you keep doing the same thing, and then it's going to kind of ask you to kind of like turn that light bulb and be like, all right, I cannot be doing the same thing, expecting the same uh, expecting the same, how do I forgot how to say. I think you know what I'm trying to say. Like Saturn is gonna be like, right, you need to do things differently now, right? So you can't be doing the same things expecting the same results. There you go. So I do feel like this is about you really taking the time and realize, okay, where in my life, am I not really learning something or seeing something from a different perspective, right? And for some of you, this is about letting go of something from some sort of personality, character, something within you that you really need to like cut off. It's no longer working for you guys, right? A way of being, a way of you handling maybe a situation that has been replaying again and again and again, right? Um, Definitely, Saturn being in Aries is going to ask you to grow up, and be the better person. And sometimes, what Saturn might do, it will humble you, because I know Aries can be very cocky and can be, very impulsive. And so this is about taking a step back and being the better person, the more mature person, right? In some sort of way. So for some of you. Um, so this is kind of like the major things that I do see here for some of you. So kind of expect that to happen in some way, depending, like I said, where it might happen. I do see here, one of the major themes, it's about connections, partnerships, relationships that might be coming in and testing you. And you're also going to be having older people or people with more experience in some sort of area in your life to kind of guide you and be like, all right, this is the situation with you, this is what I see with you, or I need you uh to do it this way, right? You need to really work on releasing that pattern, that behavior, and change it for this. But they're going to be very, very clear about it. All right. So let's see. Well, I don't feel like I need to tell you any more of what's gonna happen, because there's a lot of astrologers out there. I just wanted to do something here with you guys and see how you guys liked it. And I will be pulling a couple of cards from this oral, the wisdom of the house of sight, and sacred destiny. So let's see more messages when it comes to this Saturn retrograde. Let's see what you guys need to know. We have message. So there's definitely a message that you will be getting very clear when it comes to some sort of situation here happening for you guys while Saturn is in retrograde. You getting the message across. Maybe this is something that, like I said, someone or maybe even people from the past have kind of been telling you, hey, you need to see this, you need to change this. So there is some sort of message that you will be getting. And I feel like this is going to get very loud and this Saturn retrograde for you guys to see and acknowledge, right? And this could be coming from older people, wiser people, and people with authority that they're going to teach you a message or learn something here, when it comes to a way of being, of something about you from the past. We also, let me get some, no, just one from this sacred destiny. And we also have change. Hold on, we have two cards. So yeah, definitely there's a changing something, the way you see a situation, the way a behavior in yourself. There's definitely a change kind of happening here, and this is a change that it might take a little bit of time, right? Because Saturn, this is not the first time Saturn's going to go retrograde in this sign. So you're going to see whatever it might be happening between, July and December. This is just a beginning of maybe other, whenever Saturn might go retrograde again in the sign of Aries, where you might be asked to kind of review what just happened around here. So this change is gonna happen, but it's gonna happen very slowly, because Saturn really wants you to know. And again, card of wisdom here with the Emperor. I mean, the Emperor is not the Emperor because he's manly and stuff like that. He embodies all the kings and the tarot deck, and that's why he's the Emperor. So this is why Saturn is going to go retrograde for you guys, to bring you wisdom that I feel like for some of you have been kind of like not wanting, or maybe you have been seeing something, but you are not really accepting it. So definitely I feel for some of you there's going to be a lot of ego wounds happening. So I don't mean to laugh about this, but I've had situations where people have actually hurted my ego so badly that it actually but I'm a little bit more spiritual advanced than other people, and I had to see why. So whenever someone triggers you, whenever someone make you feel uncomfortable, there is some truth there, otherwise you wouldn't feel this way, and this is where the wisdom comes. This is where the light shines in that dark part of yourself. So I feel like that's probably, like I said, the major consequences or theme that this retrograde might bring for some of you guys. All right, guys, that's all I have. I hope that this reading kind of help you and support you. If I were you, my advice would be start, whenever you get those opportunities, because I can't just tell you start looking at your ego. But yeah, it's very important for you guys to kind of acknowledge who you are from inside and change and shift that. The best thing you can do for yourself is get to know who you really are, which is, in a bad way or in a good way. But I hope this kind of helped you, give you a perspective of what this might look like. And, I hope that you guys are able to get out of this, when you come out of the Saturn retrograde, more wiser. All right, guys, take care.